90%. Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie working together against the interests to compel the files. What do you think that has, a 90% approval rating? Yeah. If you had progressive Democrats and nationalist Republicans working together, let's say to compel the release of the Epstein files, what kind of approval rating do you think that has? 90%?
Okay, guys, don't lose your minds. Don't get confused. You're not on the wrong channel. You are on Justin is Laws, but y'all know I am that girl Casey. And well, for those of y'all who do know, this is not Bring the Asteroid News. This is Justin is Laws. But I wanted to cover this because Steven Crowder finally had Nick Fuentes on his show, and I do think that it is worth covering on this channel so we could kind of have a different kind of conversation about where America's going, where MAGA is going. Steven Crowder asked Nick Fuentes a lot of questions. Steven Crowder questioned Nick Fuentes on, his position on MAGA and America First, and of course him talking about working with liberals. So I felt like you guys would be, interested in this conversation. Please run up the likes for me. This channel does not play. I'm still fighting on this channel to still have people like me. That was narcissistic, but it is what it is. Run up the likes, y'all. So let's just watch this clip, and then let's see what you guys have to say about it in the comments below, and I'll tell you how I feel about it. All right, let's go ahead and get into it.
And what if they got together and they opposed foreign aid to Israel? What approval rating do you think that would have? 90%? Do you think that that Republicans or independents running under that brand, do you think that would become more popular or less popular over time? 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. It snowballs. And we need to propel someone into the White House that is just a populist. If the right can come down on health care and on a social safety net and maybe on some subsidies for education, and if the left can come down on the anti-white open border stuff and they can agree that we have a country, that party will win 90% of the vote and rule for a century. That's the compromise. That's the populist compromise.
Okay, and I think you articulated that pretty well. I would say Epstein already has a coalition. Everyone voted to release the files except Clay Higgins, who is a punchline, deservedly so. That's the first time everyone knew Clay Higgins. He really must love pedophiles. I wish I loved anything as much as he loves defending sex islands. I would like to hear your prescription for how that works, because I would say this: if the only compromise was the left on immigration, and if I believe that there was any semblance of a reality in which they compromise on immigration, and compromising on free markets to varying degree, okay. But what do we do with the Ro Khanna on the Second Amendment, on the First Amendment, on transing the kids, on reparations that someone like a Ro Khanna or any member of the Democratic Party, but Ro Khanna specifically says is a priority economically and morally, on abortion? What do you do with all of the other compromises that aren't listed? How does that coalition work, and bring me through the end point?
So before he answers, I don't think that anybody who's saying what Nick is saying, who's agreeing with Nick on some positions, is saying that the left is going to now agree with the right on everything. Of course, we're going to still fight against things like trans in the kids. Me personally, I think that trans surgery periods should just be gone, not even for adults. The right does this thing where, the kids can't do it. I think that it's medical malpractice. You know what I'm saying? But that's a different story. This is where I become more far right than the right when I say things like that, right? Because, this is a Christian nation. Why are we doing sex changes? Okay, so I'm veering off a little bit, but I don't think that Nick is saying, oh yeah, we're going to agree with them with everything, or anybody who's watching him would say, yeah, now the left is going to listen to us about everything. But don't forget, there are black people in Chicago, because this is the people who we would think about would be mostly on the left, are black people because they always vote in Democrat, who are saying that they're tired of the immigrants in their city, right? The illegals and everything else. This is people who voted Democrat who are now seeing that it's backfired on them. So there is this group of people who are over it, right? So I don't think that this is a weird thought process to have. Let me know what you think, though.
Well, and I'm not a huge fan of either of them, actually. You could also say Thomas Massey on H-1Bs. You could say Thomas Massey on immigration also.
You could say him on Israel also, as far as his biggest donor. It's not AIPAC, but a lot of influence.
Certainly. Yeah. Certainly. But what I'm referring to is maybe more something like Trump 2016, who is basically a populist. And you look at Trump in 2016, and to me, that's kind of the prescription, where it's like in 2016, he comes out and he says, we're going to get the money out of politics. He says, I'm not going to take donor money. I'm not going to take super PAC money. I don't listen to special interests. He says, law and order, close the border. As far as healthcare, he didn't even give a plan. He said, we'll just take care of everybody. He said, we'll get rid of the lines around the states and we'll just take care of everybody. Who even knows what that means? And he says, we're going to put America first in foreign policy. Now, I think that here's the thing. I'm under no illusions. We're not going to win 80% of the left or 40% or even 30%. But I'm thinking that if we can win, because I think there are a lot of people on the far left or even some of the abundance liberals, they're getting tired of a lot of the far left too. There's a lot of these liberals in the center that are saying, how are you going to have public transportation when you have people getting stabbed in the neck and there's no police? Like, we can't defund the police and even have these cities that we want to have. I think there's a lot of people on the far left too that are saying, maybe the woke has gone too far.
I'm sorry, was that a quote? Did Ro Khanna say that, or was that just a general?
No, I'm not talking specifically about Ro Khanna. That's just an example.
Because when I hear it, I almost thought you said like I was like, oh yeah, that sounds like something a liberal would say, like stab the cop in the neck.
No. When people are being stabbed in the neck by like black people, for example.
Well, that's also something I could hear a leftist supporting. But yes, okay, go on. I just didn't know if it was specific. Okay, yeah.
Well,
the joke didn't land with Steven Crowder, just so you know, like whatever joke Steven tried to make, it just didn't land. But the black people reference is funny. I mean, by criminals, I would say, but yes, let's keep it real. Most of the times they are. This is why I do promote using the N-word, because it's like, dang, you know what I mean? Like, we're not all the same. There's still this demographic of blacks that just do too much, but whatever. Okay, I'm veering again.
Oh, and here's the thing. I mean, fundamentally, it comes down to the fact that let's just talk about it in general. So that's my prescription. It's like populist Trump, and let's just get a small percentage of the left liberals, who I think have come a long way in the past 5 years since COVID. But I would say that in general, I think maybe where we disagree is I look at this Republican team. What has it actually done for us? Because you seem to be defending like, well, we're supposed to vote Republican and we're supposed to say, well, this is better than the alternative. No. And he's making these wins. Well, hang on. And I look at it and say, it's been 10 years of Trumpism. And, I know Biden brought them in, but we're 10 million illegals up since Biden, and there's no mass deportations. I look at the wars. We're getting into more wars, not fewer. He wanted to keep us in Afghanistan and Bagram. He's building bases in Syria. We're getting into Venezuela. I look at what we have not done in 10 years, and I say, this is a prescription where it hasn't been working. And so I'm very against this line where you say, well, we're going to vote Republican and we're going to, what exactly? I mean, what's your prescription? If Trump is failing us miserably, what are we supposed to do here?
He's right. So clearly,
special interest.
Hold on a second. I just want to get him at the right. You know what I mean? I like the split screen. I hate when people shut their eyes. Sorry, guys. All right. So he is right. Listen. So you could already tell my bias. I'm pretty sure if anybody has seen my clips on Bring the Asteroid News, it's not that I agree with Nick on literally everything, but I'm also one of those who's like I'm older than these two people, right? Like, I know I'm older than, I'm definitely older than Nick, and I'm pretty sure I'm older than Crowder because I'm always the oldest person in the crowd. But I've seen the same thing over and over and over again. It is the same freaking agenda. Let me tell you, one of the agendas that I didn't even know was under the Trump administration was the urban warfare training of our military when this was happening in Flint, Michigan under Obama. And I'm like, why was Obama training the military how to shoot down people? Because they were like dropping things, and it was like low flying helicopters. Look this stuff up, and I'm like, but why was Obama okay in that? Like, wait, who are they trying to fight in the ghetto? Like, what is going on? Trump did it in his administration too, in his first administration. when we talk about people coming in and then getting amnesty, we always think that it's just the Democrats giving amnesty. Well, guess what? Before Trump left his office the first term, it was Trump who gave amnesty to Venezuelans right before he left. And now we got to keep hearing about Trinidad Agua all the time. I got to keep hearing about this gang. But guess what? These people have amnesty, right? So, and who gave it to them? It was Trump. And listen, when I say it was Trump, it's not about like, oh, now we hate Trump. No, it's about the people surrounding Trump. I feel like if you love this country, you have to be honest about the fact that there are donors, there are people who are surrounding Donald Trump who are like making decisions. This is not just Trump. It's been like this since I would imagine that John F. Kennedy had donors, but I think it's ramped up since his assassination, if you know what I mean, right? So I think that this is a good conversation. And then when you see Steven Crowder is not really with it, you have to understand, and I'm not trying to come at Steven Crowder. I know that a lot of people on this channel like Steven Crowder. Listen, when his wife was giving him a hard time, I was completely against that. I don't think that anybody should have been involved with that. Or whatever, like other, influencers talking about it, trying to come for Steven Crowder. I was completely against it. I can be a very balanced person, but let's keep it real. Steven Crowder makes his money by keeping people divided. Just like Kyle Kalinske. You couldn't have this conversation with Kyle Kalinske. He wouldn't talk to, I'll even give Steven Crowder this much. At least he's talking to Nick. Kyle Kalinske would say, no, we don't want to talk to Nazis. We don't want to talk to NAZIs. This is a real country. It's not just about getting clicks on YouTube. Influencers are very, very powerful, though. They are. And if influencers would pay attention to the kind of power they have and have the integrity to talk about this country in full reality, not say, yeah, my side, I voted for this, I voted for that. Tell people, why do we have a problem in in Minnesota about Somalia? Well, it's because we bomb Somalia quite often, been doing it since the 90s. This is the constant foreign policy agenda. And then we bring in refugees. When we look to the people who are actually giving the problem, it is our establishment. And both sides are complaining about the same things, to be honest. So look towards the establishment. Why don't we, in some instances with certain things, say, hey, guys, we're going to have to see eye to eye on this one and look towards the establishment and say, we've had enough. That's just how I feel. I think that this was a great conversation. You guys let me know. I see you guys at the next one. Bye.